A dream for the wise, a game for the fool, a comedy for the rich, a tragedy for the poor. Shalom Aleichem. We're about to see massive disruption. Please keep your friends and family aware. Like, subscribe, share these videos. Please remember I am not a financial advisor.
Well, look, I welcome feedback from anyone, and so I'm always happy to hear. There are some issues I can't speak to, and one of those, which I know has been frustrating to some of those people who have tweeted at me, I can't speak to Ripple and the XRP litigation because that's ongoing litigation right now, and so I just can't speak about it. But more generally, enforcement is sometimes a tool that we use, and it's a necessary tool for the agency. So I'm supportive of using it, but I always underscore, and not only in this context, but every context, we're a regulatory agency first. And what that means is that we're supposed to write clear rules so that people know what to do to comply with them. And they know that if they don't comply with them, they might be facing an enforcement action on the back end. But good government means that you spell out what the rules are before you start enforcing them. And I think that this is an area where we haven't done a great job at spelling out those rules in advance.
It is clear that Hester Pierce is a believer in clearly defined rules. How many agents at the SEC disagreed with regulating through enforcement? Ripple is being regulated through enforcement rather than a set of transparent rules. I think it's a fair assumption that Hester is not confident that this was the right decision. How many other SEC agents are there that share this same point of view?
And so we have provided some clarity through our enforcement actions. I think people have been watching them quite closely to see what we might and might not find to be acceptable. But why not just take the much more positive and proactive step of putting something out there and saying, all right, look, we understand what you're trying to do, and we don't think it's bad to try to do a token distribution. We understand why you need to do that to move forward. So here's how you need to do that to move forward. Now, if you don't comply with what we lay out here, you could be facing enforcement action. And I think the fact that we've done this through enforcement actions, many of which are settlements as opposed to actually going in front of a judge, further complicates matters because what people agree to in a settlement may be driven by a lot of factors: how much money they have for lawyers, their desire to move on and move forward. So it is good, I guess, that we've gotten some judicial opinions in this space, although I have I've expressed some concerns about the way the judges have come out as well. But I really do hope we'll at some point provide clarity through a means other than enforcement.
Quote, what people agree to in a settlement is driven by a lot of factors: how much money they have for lawyers, the desire to move on. Look at the team of lawyers Ripple has put together. There is an ex-SEC chairwoman at Ripple's defense. Quote, we have gotten some judicial opinions in this space, although I have expressed some concerns about how the judges have come out as well. That sounds like the judges rule against the SEC.
The Securities Clarity Act would be a technology-neutral bill that would clarify that an investment contract asset, for instance, like a digital token, would be separate and distinct from the securities offering it might have been a part of. As you know, an investment contract asset is any asset sold as an object of an investment contract. The reason this is important is there's just an unreasonable level of uncertainty with the way that federal securities laws should be applied to transactions involving the sale of blockchain-based tokens. And it's this lack of clarity that, frankly, is hurting American innovation. And I believe is potentially, I believe it's already doing it, but certainly going forward, it has a serious implication of driving entrepreneurs out of the U.S. So as a legislator, I don't want to directly, obviously, weigh in. We know that there's pending litigation, right, on this issue. I don't want to weigh into that. I have prior to the litigation, but it really comes down to whether something is a security or not. We have to we've got to get some clarity, which is there's the title of the bill, the Securities Clarity Act.
Tom Emmer, the Minnesota congressman, has said that XRP is not a security. The Security Clarity Act that he has proposed is a proposed bill that defines a token from a security offering. New regulations will be passed to clarify crypto. What happens if a law passes that clarifies XRP during the SEC lawsuit?
Or can you explain how that may relate to the SEC versus Ripple case?
Well, that's what I was trying to stay away from.
Oh, okay.
But that's all right. I mean, obviously, I previously said that I don't think XRP is a security. XRP was created in 2012. And, even though it was originally with Ripple and it's spun off and they're separate, right? Ripple was talking to the SEC and gave all the information. This has been 8 to 9 years. This is the problem. And I think, now, again, without weighing into that pending case, the fact that we're litigating an 8-year-old development should tell everyone that the SEC needs to do a better job of providing in advance clear rules of the road. And
the board members at Ripple have influence. There are some powerful people in the corner of Ripple. Do you think anybody at the SEC wants to deal with the blowback from Clayton's actions? I'm sure the majority at the SEC want smooth sailing.
So essentially the Clarities Act, is this supposed to kind of create a little bit more separation between digital tokens and the Howey test specifically?
So yes, my answer to that would be yes. I think the Howey test is it's great for lawyers, Sean.
It is case law at the end of the day, not law.
Right, and I mean it's great. It's full employment for lawyers. But I think it's kind of, this all came from when I first got involved in this space 5 years ago. I think government really needs to do a better job, even though there's overlap, of defining what is a currency, what is a commodity, and what is a security. We're just focusing on this Securities Clarity Act today because it's just had some serious implications, I think, in terms of driving entrepreneurs out. I think we want to attract them. We've got the best and the brightest. We want them developing things here. So, yes, the answer is I think the Howey test, great. That's where the courts went. But I think as legislators, we can do better.
The Howey test is outdated, and the murky waters are driving innovators to Singapore, Switzerland, and away from Silicon Valley. Massive amounts of tax revenue will be collected by keeping innovators in the States rather than driving them away.
No, I think it's definitely had a negative impact on the industry. Let's call a spade at this point. I think it's kind of restricted the development of securities and distributed ledger technology probably by several years. That's the SEC has been very happy to engage with industry, but it's typically a one-way conversation where they're collecting information about what they're seeing in the market and not providing anything in return in the form of rulemaking, no action letters, guidance, and that kind of thing. So we need to move from a one-way conversation to a more inclusive conversation where both parties are engaging and sharing information and working together towards a common goal where we can responsibly integrate this technology into the market.
I have only heard criticisms about the SEC. Congressmen and congresswomen, industry leaders, American politicians have had nothing but bad to say. We are about to get a new chair for the SEC that understands crypto and blockchain. Is he going to go against the grain? Is he going to be the nail that sticks out?
No, that's a great question, Julian. Gary Gensler, has a great deal of experience in the financial markets. First of all, we were quite nervous about his views on ESG, environmental and social governance, and shareholder activism, because that smells a little bit like the politicization of regulation. But at the same time, he is very, very pro innovation and pro digital assets, pro using blockchain and a distributed ledger for settlement and for tokenization. So that was kind of where we ended up. Was his commitment to innovation is the reason why I think Senator Lummis was so committed to ensuring that he has a good start at the SEC and can hopefully help the U.S. catch up to the global race in fintech that we're seeing now.
Politicians just started caring about digital currencies. The momentum has been built from Libra and China's CBDC. Gary Gensler has been selected to help the U.S. catch up in the global race of fintech. This tech is fundamentally going to change the world. The U.S. lagging behind is a problem. and the world reserve status of the dollar is being threatened with an updated CBDC.
The Fed has dozens of folks at both the Kansas City Federal Reserve Bank and the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston, and the board of governors here in DC working on innovation, digital assets, faster payments. So they're taking it very seriously, and they're very thoughtful and knowledgeable, and they do a great job. I talk to them a lot. Wyoming's been working with them closely over the last 2 years too, and we think developed a pretty robust supervisory framework that kind of fits digital assets into the banking system in a pretty elegant manner, and guards against some of the unique risks that digital assets posed. And I think the Fed's going to be issuing some thoughts on all these issues in the coming months, and we'll all have to stay tuned. I'll let you know shortly after I know.
They're working with the Federal Reserve to incorporate digital assets into the banking system. For faster payments, we will be hearing from the Fed in the upcoming months. The rich swell up with pride, the poor from hunger. Shalom Alahim. Thank you for liking, watching, and subscribing. If you enjoy my work and wish to support my channel, please consider joining my Patreon. Remember to hit the bell.